There is something definitely wrong with the gaming industry because it seems like every time a new game comes out, it flops. It always leads to a write-off of millions of dollars in terms of losses, or it leads to companies axing like dozens of jobs for restructuring. This is a common trend that I have seen within the past couple of years. It's something that I've talked about in the past couple of years. And I honestly feel like it's not going to be any different with Sony and Bungie Studios because Sony just reported that they lost $765 million in impairment losses. And the crazy thing is the acquisition between Sony and Bungie took place almost 4 years ago. So we're not even it hasn't even been like half a decade since this acquisition took place, and it seemed like Sony might end up having buyer's remorse for this because you look at the IPs that Bungie has. Aside from Destiny, like, what do you have to work with? I mean, Marathon, I feel like, is an IP that they try to revive with a sequel, but it's something that didn't work because a lot of people were unfamiliar with the video game series back in the 90s. And even though the Marathon game, which came out back in March, even though it looks well polished and looks vibrant and there's been no bugs or issues or anything, and there's like a handful of things to do in that game, it's something that I guess a lot of people didn't really have too much fun with. And the reason I say that is because I was on Metacritic, and it turns out that the game has a meta score of 82 and a user score of 5.8. And honestly, I think that's better than what Black Ops 7 did this past year. I honestly feel like the Call of Duty series is finished at this point, but as far as Bungie is concerned, I mean, I bet you can't name one high profile IP off the top of your head aside from Marathon and I guess Destiny that Bungie has that Sony could really work with. And the thing is, I don't think Sony necessarily needed Bungie because they already got high profile IPs at their disposal. You look at Gran Turismo, you look at look at Marvel Spider-Man, you look at God of War, they got a handful of IPs that makes them plenty of money at their disposal and makes you wonder whether or not this $3.2 billion acquisition was even necessary, and it just, I honestly feel like buyouts between, I guess, corporations and companies, there's something that becoming more and more common like post COVID, because I remember before COVID, this is something that wasn't happening. You have all these companies merging together, raising the prices of everything, and a lot of people are baffled and I guess concerned and even upset to an extent that these things are happening because there are things that don't need to happen, but they do happen, and it makes you wonder what the end game of like some of these mergers are or some of these acquisitions are. And I don't think Microsoft is having like that much luck with Activision Blizzard either, because I just talked about the Call of Duty games that's been costing, Microsoft millions of dollars because no one cares about it. And I think that has more to do with the makers of Call of Duty like pissing off their fan base than anything else. And I don't know, I think Sony has done the same thing to a much lesser extent, like to their fan base as well. But yeah, it just seems like people are just upset because they got this game opposed to, I guess, Destiny 3. And I feel like at this point, that better be, Bungie's next move. We better be getting a Destiny 3 game after this. And it's something that people better like, because if people don't like it and it flops, then I feel like Sony's eventually just going to shut down Bungie Studios. And if they shut down Bungie Studios, then the acquisition was for nothing. So, it just, I don't know. It's not a good situation with Sony. It's not a good situation for Bungie. And a lot of people are wondering what their fate is going to be in the near future.